Welcome to the Words That Change Lives podcast, helping leaders, coaches, and small business owners to 10 times the impact of their message. Join us as we delve into the art of powerful language, enabling you to speak with unwavering honesty, communicate authentically, and create a lasting impression with every word. I remember the first time that I encountered a thought leader. You may or may not have heard me tell this story before, but I was 18 years old. I had got my dream job as a coach. No, actually at the time I wasn't a coach. I was in the call centre answering phones. That was my first job at Virgin Atlantic Airways. And I had been invited, as with all the staff, to Richard Branson's house for a festival in Oxford over the weekend. We had boats going down the river. All of my colleagues were there. This was amazing for me. I'd never done anything like it. It was a concert. He was dancing, and then he came on the stage. And in that moment, I saw a true thought leader, in that he was delivering such a powerful message through his talk in terms of the future of the company, his views on the industry, how that connected with us, and of course, just showed himself as a true expert. Now, that's my experience of thought leadership. And then, of course, my whole career has been based in leadership development and now in entrepreneurship, helping people to get known as experts by the messages they use, by the communication that they deliver. And thought leadership, like it or hate it, is part of that. And of course, it's come under fire in recent years. There's some cynicism around the term, and that's valid, but there's real value in harnessing becoming a thought leader or pursuing strategies around thought leadership if you want to get known in your industry or niche. So that is what today's episode is all about. And as usual, we start with a little bit of history. I'm going to touch on that criticism because I think it's important, but then we're going to look at why thought leadership is important for you in particular. I'm going to explain that different types of thought leadership, because it's important to know that there are different types. I'm also going to be looking at the components and examples based on my work in thought leadership around my AIR assessment. And you're going to get some actions that you can take to build your own thought leader status. So listen on, because that is all coming in today's episode. So there's many definitions, really. I'm not going to go with the dictionary definition. However, somebody described it to me once as sharing your ideas with courage, and I really like that, because essentially, if we think of it in its simplest terms, that's what thought leadership is. Some other people think that it's an individual being recognised as an authority in a specific field, known for their ideas and the ability to inspire and influence others. And that's a fair example and description as well. But essentially, it's about getting known for your expertise in articulating your message and being visible and consistent in that message and visibility, so that you do get known for your expertise and build your audience, win more business, get that promotion, assign that client, whatever you want the outcome to be. And it originated in the 1990s, popularized by a man called Joel Kurtzman. And he was in the business and marketing circles. And I think at that time, and certainly when I was in the corporate world, thought leadership was this phenomenon where it was about the types of things you were saying that were future facing. So that's how I saw it, that you were demonstrating your expertise by looking into the future and spotting trends and looking at what we needed to know about the future in a particular industry, and that you were spotting that as a thought leader. So that was my original understanding. And it has come under criticism by being an annoying example of business jargon. Kevin Money and Nuno de Camara of the John Majewski Centre for Reputation at the University of Reading's Henley Management College wrote that the nebulous nature of the phrase and the unclear nature of what it is and what is not contributed to its reputation amongst cynics as meaningless management speak. Some people And some writers, such as in the Harvard Business Review, and someone I really like, and someone who I think is a thought leader, Dory Clark, has defended the phrase whilst also agreeing that it's very icky when people call themselves thought leaders, because that sounds a little bit egomaniac, which is true. We don't call ourselves thought leaders. We take the steps and build the foundations and take the action to build a reputation as a thought leader, the credibility and the authority that comes with that, and the outcome, which is getting people to know more about you, signing clients, winning roles, building networks, whatever it might be. But we also need to understand that there are different types. And so I'm going to go through those various different types because I think it's really good to compartmentalize and think, okay, well, this is my type of thought leadership. And this is the type of thought leadership that I want to focus on. So the first is industry. And this type involves sharing deep insights and expertise specific to a particular industry. So I think this is relevant to anybody, whether you are a business owner or you are a leader within an organization, that you can be honing in on having industry thought leadership. So that can be doing things like writing white papers and doing research reports. And I do recommend that, especially if you're corporate facing. My amazing friend and someone who I've been part of her C-suite, Jessica Lorimer, and she has a program called the C-suite. She recommends within that program to write a white paper based on research or the work that you've done, and then publishing that. And that can really help to elevate your status as a thought leader in the particular industry that you're in. Also, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do any specific research, although it is recommended. You can write blogs or articles and regularly update content that addresses current issues and developments in the industry. What are you spotting? What's happening? What are the challenges? And what's happening in the future? And the purpose of this is to establish this person or organisation as an authority in a specific sector by providing valuable specialised knowledge. And if you do that, more people are going to come to you or keep coming back to you to see what else you're saying as a reference point for their own thoughts on trends in that particular industry. Then we have product thought leadership. Now, this may or may not be relevant to you. You may or may not have a product, but what this does is focus on showcasing expertise related to the specific product, or it could be the service that you're offering. For example, product demos and webinars. So demonstrations that highlight the unique features and benefits of a product or a service. Case studies are also really good to demonstrate your thought leadership in a particular product or service. So real world examples of how you solve specific problems. And we know this, right? But we don't necessarily think of it in thought leadership terms. It's really good, credibility and social proof that what you do and what you say on the tin does what you say. And really it's to position your product or your service as a leading solution, essentially. So the more that you do demos, webinars, case studies and things like that, the more people will see that this is what you do. You're an expert in this particular area. So this obviously works with service-based businesses. If you're a coach, you're a consultant, and showing this sort of stuff proves to people, it builds your credibility and shows expertise in that particular product or service. If you're in an organisation, there is organisational thought leadership, and this centres on the broader organisational practices and philosophies of a company. So, for example, corporate social responsibility. So, showcasing how a company's values align with social and environmental causes. It can show organisational thought leadership. Also, establishing a culture. So, insights into company culture, leadership styles and management practices from your unique perspective can really help to establish organisational thought leadership. And the purpose of this is to build a positive brand image outside as well as inside the organisation that aligns the company's values with those of the audience. Then we have educational thought leadership, and this is on educating the audience through valuable, informative content. So things like how-to guides, tutorials, step-by-step instructions, solving specific problems of achieving certain goals, workshops, training programs. So educational sessions designed to impart knowledge and skills. And the purpose of this is to provide actionable insights that help the audience improve their skills. So really, obviously very good for someone who is running a service-based business. You take people from A to B, from their underworld to their utopia, and you do that by offering education. And again, it's building credibility through showcasing and showing that transformation and transfer of learning through actually doing the thing that you meant to be doing. Then we have visionary thought leadership, and this involves presenting forward-thinking ideas about the future. So we had that industry thought leadership, but this is really looking into the future. Now, this involves futurism and trend analysis, so articles and talks about future trends based on your expertise and what your ideas are in this space. Gary Vee is a very good example of someone who has visionary thought leadership. So he's always looking into the future. He's always predicting trends for the future. And also, this is where TED comes in, inspirational presentations to share visionary ideas. A TED Talk is a perfect example of that. And the purpose of this is to inspire and influence others by presenting a compelling vision. You're talking about the future. A lot of other people might not be able to see that, so they're going to listen. And that is visionary thought leadership. A few more. We've got personal branding. And that focuses on building an individual's brand. So the way that you do that is by personal blogs and vlogs. So sharing your insights, experiences, and opinions based on your brand. And I'll talk a bit more about thought leader brand in a minute. Social media thought leadership. So engaging with audiences on platforms like LinkedIn and Instagram. And you do this to establish the individual as a recognizable and influential figure by talking about the things that you want to talk about. And we'll talk about thought leader messages in a minute as well. We've got innovation and disruption. So this centers on introducing and advocating for innovative ideas and maybe disruptive technologies. So research and development insights are important here. So you might share breakthroughs and new developments in technology or processes. I mean, one field that's huge in this right now is AI. So there's a lot of sort of marketing agencies converting to AI companies, and they are sharing their thought leadership in terms of breakthroughs and new developments in technology and things like that. And then we've got the innovative case studies. So examples of disruptive innovations that have changed the landscape of the industry. And the purpose of this is to position you as a pioneer and an innovator. So hopefully this helps you to think of the whole picture when it comes to thought leadership, and that there are different ways in which you can demonstrate thought leadership, and you don't have to do all of them, but picking a few of these and really honing in on those is going to really help you in establishing yourself as a thought leader in your niche. And this is really important. Why is it important? Well, it's important for so many reasons. As much as that term has been thrown around and gets given a bad name, there are so many benefits from really focusing on this. The first is credibility and trust. If you're doing this in whatever particular areas you've chosen, you're building trust with clients, with stakeholders. You're validating your expertise. You're building that trusted sense of, I know what I'm talking about, I know what I'm doing. You're also setting yourself apart from your competitors. If you're really doubling down on this and focusing on building this, then you're positioning yourself as a forward thinker and innovator, the expert, educating people, inspiring people by demonstrating what you're doing, showing research and new technological trends, whatever it might be. Communicating those things is going to set you apart, especially if you're delivering them in your unique way with your voice and your brand. It also enables influence and impact. So you can shape opinions. You can drive conversations. You can be asked for opinions. You could be asked to come speak, to go on panels and to go on podcasts and all of those sorts of things, as well as speaking up on your channels and in your ways and shaping people's opinions. It's also very good for business growth because enhanced visibility and credibility lead to increased business opportunities. And that just makes sense, right? So we really need to break this down a little bit more and think of the sorts of things that we need to look at when developing a thought leader status. And there's a couple of areas I'm going to be sharing with you in this episode around expertise. So deep knowledge and continuous learning in your field, originality, your unique perspectives, authenticity, which is your genuine passion and commitment, visibility, which is consistent presence across your various platforms, and engagement, which is engaging in two-way discussions, building relationships, networking, all those sorts of things. And one person I want to re-reference is Dorie Clark and their insights on thought leadership. I have followed them from the beginning of starting my business, read their books, and they really have some really important things to say around personal branding and content and networking and speaking opportunities to do with thought leadership. So worth looking up Dorie Clark. But what I'm going to share with you now is some examples of people within the industry and also how I help people build a thought leader brand based on my experience and expertise of working in leadership and also entrepreneurship for the last nearly 10 years. Oh my God. So let's start. And the first thing I want to reference to you is my AIR system. Now, this is my expert method. It's one of my expert methods that I have created to articulate my expertise in this particular area. It stands for authority, impact, and reach. And there is a free assessment you can take. I will link it down in the show notes so that you can take this if you haven't done so already. And the specific area that I focus on with this for thought leadership is authority. Now, the part of authority, the pillar of authority, is made up of a number of different components. The thought leader brand, the core story, the thought leader messaging, the expert method, and ideas worth spreading. And all of these, I believe, are really core components to really developing a thought leader brand. So I want to explain that to you in terms of what that actually looks like, because within the thought leader brand itself, there are some building blocks that you need to get really clear on if you're going to articulate a message confidently. Number one is your values, and these are aspirational as well as foundational. What values are you living by and how you're showing up as a leader and as a business owner or as a business owner, a coach, consultant, whatever you are? What values are you living by? Because those are really important and crucial in terms of forming your voice and your message. So that's really important. The next is to really identify the USP, the super strength. What is it about you, your natural talent and your expertise that is unique? And to find this out is, what can you do all day long and not get bored? So playing to your strengths. And what do you want other people to say about you when you're not in the room? And then you develop out of that your authority headline, which is your LinkedIn headline, your Facebook headline, which encapsulates essentially how you help people in 12 words or less. You can then expand that to the longer authority headline, but this is a really good starting point to really help you define. It helps you then look at the audience, which is very important because you need to understand the audience in order to speak to them. And the way that I help people to understand their audience is by developing their core story. It's not just a case of telling the story, it's building the story and the golden nuggets that are speaking directly to the people that you want to help, whether that be an individual, a collective group, or people within society. That then leads you on to develop your thought leader messages. And those come at 3 levels: individual, group or community, and society. Because depending on what medium you're using to deliver your message and the actual message itself, it depends on who you're speaking to. Then we have the expert method. Now, you will see that there is a podcast episode dedicated on the core story and the expert method, and also on the next one, which is ideas worth spreading. So the expert method, I believe, is an essential foundational thing to create, whether you are a leader within an organization or you are running your own business, which is a way to articulate your expertise in a unique way. So we go into this authenticity bit where your uniqueness helps shape your thought leader message. And creating the expert method is one way to do that. So go back and listen to that episode if you want to. Also, there is the ideas worth spreading. Now, this doesn't have to be related to TED, but I highly recommend that you do. Your thought leadership status increases tenfold if you do a TEDx talk around that particular idea. It's just instant credibility and authority, and it really helps you get known as a thought leader in your field. So if you want more information on those, you can either contact me, hello@helenpackham.com. You can take the free air assessment that I am going to put in the show notes. You can also attend a free masterclass that I recorded, which focuses on this as well. And in my Ultimate Speaker program, I have an entire module dedicated to this. So there's loads of ways that I can support you with that if that's something that you wanted to develop. So let's give some examples of thought leaders in the coaching industry, because chances are, if you're listening, you've probably got some interest in that. Tony Robbins is a very good example of a thought leader. So he's known for his motivational speaking and personal development seminars and his thoughts and words in the area of personal development and the transformation and education that he contributes in his live events. He also contributes including best-selling books as well. But his thing that he's known for is the large-scale, transformational, quite moving and life-changing seminars. And so when it comes to personal development, he's definitely a thought leader. One that's very close to my heart is the research professor and author Brené Brown, who focuses very much on courage, vulnerability, and empathy. And she has really carved out her thought leader status. And it all started with her famous TED Talk, The Power of Vulnerability. And it's gone on and to really develop and unfurl into this whole thought leadership around leadership itself. Her books, her courses, her programs, her corporate work, all developing around this human leadership approach and the very unique messages she has to deliver. And her books are incredible. She has many books. There's loads of really, really great stuff in them. I highly recommend you read her books if you haven't done so already. Then we have someone like Marie Forleo. Now, Marie Forleo, when I first started out this business, she was all over the place in terms of her visibility. And she was the founder of B School, which at the time was this really innovative online learning school that I hadn't really seen anybody else do. And the way that she got her thought leadership status was her real energetic approach and her massively practical business advice. Like her book, I think it's called Everything is Figure Outable, has never left me. Even that in itself is a thought leader message. Everything is figure outable. It is sometimes the simplest of messages that can be the most powerful if it's in a talk or content or whatever it might be, because people remember them. So that's my view with a few examples of people that you might or might not know. I'm sure you do. But hopefully that's given you an idea of how to actually build your brand, your thought leader brand, and your messaging. And some other things to be thinking about in how you actually do this is by creating valuable content. So whether you're whatever type of thought leader, whether you're the innovator or the industry or the educational, whatever it is that you're focusing on, creating valuable content is going to be really important. Whether that is through research articles, white papers, social media posting, videos, YouTube channel, whatever it is, it's got to have that consistent message around it, overarching theme, and then the high quality content that showcases your knowledge, right? And the core story is a really good place to start if you're really stuck with this and you're thinking, where do I start? Go back to what I said, building your thought leader brand, your core story, your expert method, really, really important. It's also important to engage with your audience. So building relationships, interacting with your community, whether that's in person at networking events, online in online capacities, interaction and relationship building are absolutely essential to build your thought leader status. Another really great way of doing that is by leveraging speaking opportunities. Of course, that's one of the best ways that you can raise your authority and build a brand as a thought leader in your niche by speaking on it at conferences and events, at online events, collaborative events, and TEDx as well. As I've mentioned, it's really important. If it's on your agenda, and I highly recommend it to anybody, and I do have a TEDx workshop that I will link below as well, if you are interested. But that helps in so many ways, because instant credibility, expertise, building your brand, expanding your network, because the reach on the YouTube channel is huge, leveraging the talk for further opportunities. If you do a TEDx, you're going to get more requests to give more talks. And of course, for your personal and professional growth as well. It's really important. So I haven't here given you step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. But hopefully this has given you an idea of what a thought leader really is, and that it's not just one thing. There are a number of different types of thought leadership, and I gave those examples at the beginning, but also what you can do to build your own thought leader status. Consistency, visibility, and demonstration and articulation is the key to getting known as that go-to expert in your field for promotion, for increasing your audience, for signing new clients or new business. You want to be the word on people's lips when they think of the particular niche or industry you're in as the person to go to read up on, to listen to your podcast, to read the articles you're publishing. And so having that consistent presence is really, really key, because how can you be a thought leader if nobody knows what you're talking about and they don't see you or hear you? So that might be, the next step after getting clarity on the things I mentioned, which I will provide all the links in the show notes. The best place to start is the A of authority in my AIR assessment, so that you can start to build your own thought leader status and brand yourself. And if you have any questions about this, please do contact me, hello@helenpackham.com. I'm happy to answer any questions. There's no question too big or too small, because this is seem quite complex, but actually it's just really simple. It's sharing your ideas with courage. But if you want more assistance and support, just get in touch with me. I have various ways you can work with me on this, through one-to-one to passive course. There's lots of different ways that you can get support. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next time. Thanks for listening to Words That Change Lives. Please rate, review and follow on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really means the world and helps me to reach more people so that we can all harness the power of our words and change lives for the better.